and welcome to this very special festive edition of the Robin Pod, which is, of course, powered by Budget Size Auto Centre, the only car specialist trusted by the players, club officials and supporters of Hull Kingston Rovers. Joining me to help spread some festive cheer this Yuletide are the lads from Bragging Rights, a cross-city podcast. And just like back on Christmas Day in 1914, when the Allied forces down their weapons to take on the Germans in a football match during the First World War, I too am putting my head above the trenches to welcome a bitter rival. Merry Christmas, everybody.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas,
Merry
everyone.
Christmas.
No, seriously, guys, I'm so pleased to have you on. I don't know who wants to start off, but tell us about a cross-city podcast and how it came about and what it's about, because there'll be some people watching and listening to the Robin Pod who might not have found it yet.
I think that's me, innit? Me and Dean were having a chat on the way, ironically, on the way down to Craven Park, not last season, season before. And I'll be honest.
Last derby win.
Yeah. In all honesty, I was fed up of podcasts like this, if you want to say, where it's just focused on one team. You end up getting a bit of extra sort of bias leaning towards that team, and you get a bit less of an honest opinion on what's actually going on. And I had this idea of doing one Hull fan, one Rovers fan, and it was Dean that suggested Craig as probably the least biased Rovers fan he knows. I don't know how, but yeah. And then
he only knows two of us.
Well, yeah, it's just grown from there. We had Dean sort of hanging around while we did it. Dean got more and more involved, and we're like, well, we need to even this up. So I reached out to Josh. Josh and Craig both were my centres actually when we were playing rugby in Hull. So that's how we found each other, and it's just grown from there. It started off as every podcast would. It wasn't that great, for the first sort of 35 episodes, but 36 was good. So we're getting there. We're getting there.
Yeah, honestly, it's a great listen. And one of the topics we're going to discuss later on in the Robin Pod is the rivalry between 𝗀𝗂𝗧𝗏 and Hull FC, and not just the rivalry, but where it is at the moment amongst fans, and sometimes how it can be toxic, sometimes it can be great, all of that. So it's a really interesting talking point. So honestly, guys, if you haven't listened to one of their pods yet, make sure you do, because it is a worthwhile listen. And just before we came on to record this, there was, some big news earlier today with the fact that Rovers have secured the signing of 𝗬𝗏𝗏 for 2026, which is, of course, a huge deal. And then following that, Hull are signing 𝗀𝗂𝗽𝗓 from Huddersfield, who's just been released, along with 𝗲𝗏𝗏, who of course will play for the Robins. And what I'll do is I'll come to you first. Josh, are you pleased to see 𝗬𝗏𝗏 signing for the Robins in 2026?
Oh, absolutely. I think we've been saying for a couple of weeks, not just on our podcast, but I think Rovers fans in general, that we made so many signings throughout the season. We've been expecting a quiet off-season, but there's maybe been a couple of question marks in areas and maybe a bit of depth to fill. And one of the ones that I'll admit personally I overlooked was, 𝗬𝗏𝗏 has had a couple of knocks in the last season and the season before, and he is very reliable when he's on the pitch, but he does give you a little bit of worry. And to bring in someone like Morg, who, look, he can play in the halves, but he can play fullback, and I've seen him tear teams apart from fullback as well. It's a great bit of depth for us, but also a great signing in general. It might not just be that position; he can cover a few. So there's not really any reservations for me. I think it's a great signing.
Yeah, Dean, are you happy though that we're already talking about players signing for next season when we haven't even kicked a ball this season? It seems a bit crazy, doesn't it? I understand why they've done it, but I'm not a fan of this.
I'm not a fan of it. I'm not going to lie. It's the Australian way, isn't it? They've been doing it for years down there. But no, I'm not a fan of it. I want to focus on next year, and then the signings for the season after will come due course during that part of the season. But no, I can't say I'm a big fan of it. But it is what it is. We've got to deal with it, haven't we? So it's a good signing for Rovers. Another goal kicker.
Yeah, well, I think it seems like we're trying to hoover up every goal kicker in Super League at the moment.
I
don't know if
There's
that's an
there's
attempt.
one you can't have. There's one you can't have. That'll kill us. That.
Mr. Sneed.
Yeah, keep away.
Well, of course, it was rumoured, wasn't it? I mean, this is one thing we'll talk about when we talk about the rivalry. Silly season with rumours. I mean, Sneed was one because obviously Tyrone May wasn't going to come back. I mean, obviously that was blew out the water pretty quickly. I mean, this city is crazy for rumours. It is like literally someone put someone on social media, and then all of a sudden it's like an Australian wildfire. It just spreads and spreads and spreads and spreads. So, Jimmy 𝗕𝘂𝗱𝗴𝗲𝗁 from Huddersfield being released. Apparently signing for you guys. Is that something that whets the appetite?
I wouldn't say it whets the appetite. It seems like a bit like one of those players. He's available. I don't know enough about him to say anything more than that. I haven't seen enough of him, so we'll see. You know, watch this space kind of thing, and yeah, I ain't got any more than that.
Yeah, Jimmy, I'll tell you what, mate, because I'm the same about Leon Ruin, and obviously you guys had him on loan last season from the Leeds Rhinos. It surprised me when Rovers then offered him a trial. Obviously, they've seen something in him that they think that they can make out of him. What was your impression of him during his time with you guys?
Well, like I just said, I said shocking, and I think that just kind of comes out off the cuff. It would have been difficult for a young lad like that to appear anything other than average in that team that we had last year with that sort of environment we'd brought him into. So I don't know. It could be one of them things where, you know, you get him out of a negative environment, put him into a positive one, and he goes on to shine. But from what we saw of him last year, he didn't appear to be anything other than just an average second rower. Yeah,
Craig, was it someone who surprised you when we offered him a trial, and obviously now we've signed him? He's a Rovers player for next season.
Yeah, I did wonder. Obviously, when it was a trial, it's kind of like it's no loss. You know, you're giving the youngsters something to sort of aim towards if he is better than what we've got in Fishwick and Tennyson. But I don't know. For me, it just seems a bit left field. There doesn't really seem to be anything behind the signing, and yeah, I don't. Just for me, like Jimmy just spoke about, it didn't exactly set it alight. But on the flip side to that, Peters must have seen something in him to give him a deal after his trial. So, what does that mean for our youngsters? On the flip side to that, you know, are they going out on loan? Are they going to get some game time down there? Obviously, I mean, with Ruan, there's a lot of players in front of him anyway, so he'll probably get very minimal game time as it is. But I don't know. We'll just, like Jimmy said, we'll have to wait and see where it goes.
Yeah, he feels a little bit like a Johnny Wallace, where looks like a player who comes in who's got obviously a lot of potential, but in reality, the pathway in front of him is so blocked. You never really see him getting an opportunity to play unless there is a horrendous run of injuries. I mean, just on that, Leeds Rhinos, well, going off topic a little bit, Leeds Rhinos, has anyone seen anything that they've done to make them think that they're suddenly going to become this great side? I don't know. Anyone want to chuck in with that?
Not for me. Obviously, they've re-signed Ryan Hall. Brodie Croft's gone back, but apart from that, they haven't really done anything to sort of say, well, we're going to be a different team to what they were last season. So for me, I think they'll be looking at roundabout where they were last season.
I think the only player I know of that they'd signed other than Hall is Connor. And let's face it, on his day, he can set the world alight, but he's one of them players. Well, you have to get him in the right environment. And is Leeds the right environment for him? Is he going to shine?
When's the last time he had a day?
With a few and far between, aren't they?
Yeah, probably a derby. He just seemed to come alive in a derby, didn't he? As long as all were on top. If Rovers got on top of us, that was it. He just went quiet.
That's Jake Connor all over, though, isn't it? Jake Connor, unless your team's on top, he'll shine for you. But when he's in a team that's behind the 8 ball, he goes disappearing. And he's not the type of player that you want, especially in a Leeds team that are trying to rebuild, and the pressure that comes with that fan base and the size of that club. Yeah.
That must be what they're hoping for then, aren't they? If that we're saying, because Leeds seem to have this little bee in the bonnet, they're going to do something special, and they're not. And what is it? And are they really hoping they're going to pin the hope on him, and that he's going to be able to turn it around? Other than that, you're right, Jim. There's no one, isn't he? They haven't signed anyone else big or special.
Well,
so yeah,
𝗕𝗂𝗋𝗴𝗏, Cooper Jenkins, and 𝗕𝗂𝗋𝗴𝗏𝗀, is it? They're the only 5 that I can see. Just having a quick look now, but no one really jumps out to me that they're going to make any drastic changes.
No, for me, what it looks like is that they have made a few additions, but they think that 𝗵𝗂𝗏𝗏 is the not 𝗵𝗂𝗏𝗏, Brad Arthur.
That's a career change.
God rest his soul. Yeah, that would be a miracle. But Arthur is going to be the one who's. They reckon that they've got decent players, and Arthur's the one who's going to suddenly make them into the team that they think that they've got. And I look at their squad and I think it don't matter who you've got in charge. No. Them players are what they are, and I do think that they'll probably be an outside bet for the playoffs. But
the thing is, that's not good enough for Leeds, though, is it? Leeds fans go into every season thinking first, second, third is a minimum now, and then when they don't get there, the pressure comes, and we've seen what the pressure's done to that Leeds team over the past few years. So.
Yeah. Well, let's see where they end up. It is a festive special, and what I'm really interested to know is I want to plan the perfect Christmas dinner. Now, I need your help to do this because there's so much you could put in one. Josh, I'm going to go to you first. Do you even have a starter on Christmas dinner?
I don't mind a starter. I like soup though.
Soup?
Yeah, I like. Oh yeah. Do you know what this year? What is it? I think it's going to be sweet potato and butternut squash soup. Nice little crusty roll on the side. I mean, how can you say no? And I know people will be screaming prawn cocktail or whatever they have, but no, it's soup for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, the thing is though, Christmas dinners are so big, aren't they? Oh, you know, if you're having a starter, you are going big.
Oh yeah, you commit though, don't you? You commit because it's Christmas dinner. You're allowed to go a bit big on Christmas Day.
Craig, you a starter, man?
Yeah, I'm a soup man. Same. What type of soup? Maybe pea and ham. Shake it up a little bit. But again, crusty buttered roll on the side.
Wow.
Yep.
What restaurant have you been to in the past? Like, why pea and ham?
Pea and ham's beautiful.
It don't scream Christmas though, does it? You know, no one's going down Aldi, the festive aisle, going, no, I'm going to get pea and ham.
What for me?
That's really wrong with Christmas, don't you? You're trying to cater for too many people.
Yeah,
I'm just surprised genuinely that Craig knows anything about any sort of vegetable at all.
And it started already.
Yeah, well, it'll be out of a tin, won't it?
Well, has to be pureed though. I can't do lumps.
Well, coming on to Christmas dinner then, that'll be interesting. I mean, Jimmy, what are you going for? Are you a goose man? Are you a turkey man? Chicken? 2 beds? What are you after?
So
he's never had 2 beds before.
No, I have, and that's been the problem. No, it's obviously me and Dean grew up together, and Dean will know exactly what I'm going to say. We grew up in a duck household.
Oh, duck! Wow.
Yeah, we had duck at Christmas every year, but now obviously I'm ruled by the better half who's downstairs, and I've become a turkey man.
Yeah, I was going to say, when he was having duck, when would you have turkey? Would you ever have turkey?
No, Dad didn't like it.
Too dry, innit? Except last year, Dino stand up for me. Last year, I nailed the turkey last year.
Yeah, I'll give him that one. It was a good one. But last year was the first time he ever had a starter as well.
What are you saying, Craig? You can't talk other people on this. It doesn't work.
I said that's animal cruelty. That.
Yeah.
Never mind. Bye.
We have to deal with this. So I get to cut this out, Jono, because we don't do it live. But yeah, we might struggle tonight.
There you go. So how long would your normal podcast be if you didn't cut it out?
Well, depends if you had the half an hour talk before we get started, and just the general chit chat, and then the breaks for the toilet.
Yeah, there's the inevitable point where Dean does this in the corner. He's like, pause it, pause it, pause it. So we have to pause it, and then Dean goes to the toilet, and then we all talk about a load of other stuff. And yeah, our night recording lasts upwards of 2.5 hours, I reckon.
Well, this is a Beauty Alive recording, isn't it? So, Josh, are you in turkey? Must be. Come on, give me a turkey.
No, there'll be turkey at my dinner for other people, but I'm a gammon man on Christmas dinner.
Yeah.
And I know people don't like that, but I like to have the options, and I've got all my family coming round, my side of the family, so there'll be a gammon and there'll be a turkey, and I'll just be having gammon.
Wow, sounds more like a carvery.
Honestly, because that's the next point in it. People start saying it's just a carvery, but you can't beat a good carvery, can you? So
it's a fancy Sunday dinner. That's what it is.
Right. Well, let's go on to that then. So vegetables. I mean, you've got a plethora, haven't you, Dean? You've got carrots, parsnips, broccoli, sweet corn, peas, red cabbage, sprouts, cauliflower. What's your go-to?
Parsnip and collie cheese.
Collie cheese. Are you roasting your parsnips?
Oh yeah. Well, the wife is definitely.
And what about your dinner?
We're having turkey and beef this year.
Got him off guard there, Johnny. You can't
swear that one, didn't he?
Yeah.
Try to.
No, you've got to have roast parsnips, haven't you? Are you roasting your carrots, Craig?
No, boil. I'm a boiled man on my carrots.
Boiled.
Yeah.
That just drains the life out of the food, doesn't it? Just literally draining it out.
Nah.
Killing the flavour and removing all the nutrients, Craig.
A bit of honey roasted.
Jimmy turned into Primal and Titchmarsh there with his gardening knowledge.
Hey, well, that's where all the nutrients is in the skin.
Yeah,
he's not wrong. I do have a question, right? Because we just mentioned about, it is just a carvery, it's just a fancy, roast dinner. Who out of us lot puts sprouts on a regular Sunday dinner? And if you don't, why do people force it on you at Christmas? Because
it's Christmas.
Tradition.
Well, they're not nice enough to have every week. Why would you have them once a year? I don't get it.
Yeah, nice.
I know.
Yeah.
My mother-in-law warned not to put sprouts on my plate.
Can I ask a serious question though?
I know what's coming.
Yorkshire puddings, yes or no?
Absolutely.
I was going to ask this. Absolutely, yes. Yes.
Yeah, I'm a yes man.
Jono, what are you shaking your head for?
Well, it's not your traditional one, is it? Did anyone see the who's that kid who sang for St Helens? Where they did a video of him eating a Yorkshire pudding, as in like "Welcome to St Helens," and they had him eating a Yorkshire pudding.
I haven't seen that. No.
Yeah,
no, I haven't seen that.
It was only last week, and then like everyone's like, "Hang on, it's a Yorkshire pudding." What you? Anyway, honestly,
be having a party on that side.
Yeah, you find it on certain on their X account, I think it was. But yeah, I mean, yeah, Yorkshire puddings not for me. Not for me. But you know what the Yorkshire puddings are good for? They're a good vessel, aren't they? Because you can then fill them with.
Oh yes.
You could put your sprouts in there. You can put your stuffing balls.
Yeah, your stuffing balls.
Oh yes.
Yeah, they go in there and drown them in gravy. Job done.
Well, that's another one though. Do people have stuffing balls, or do they have the big sausage meat stuffing that becomes like almost a meal in itself?
No, stuffing balls for me.
We grew up with stuffing balls, but once again, my life is now ruled by a female, and we have the big sausage things.
Jimmy feels like he's oppressed. It's like we all like need to like bring in like airdrop a proper Christmas dinner in.
You might have to stop asking him. Stop asking him what he has, because he's slowly getting more and more depressed, realising what he used to have and now he can't.
19 minutes in, Jono's already rumbled Jimmy.
I feel like I need some rebel forces to come and liberate me like they just did in Syria, mate. That's what needs to happen. I'm being tied down. Shackled.
Why are you turning it political? What's going on?
Well, why not? I'm kidding.
God. Anyway.
So anyway, right, I'm still on vegetables, and you've gone Yorkshire pudding. Dean's gone straight into Yorkshire pudding. Obviously, it's a topic for him. He cares passionately about. So he wants to straight away Yorkshire puddings. I can imagine him marching on the front line with his Yorkshire puddings.
You've gone from meat to veg, and you've skipped out pigs in blankets.
Yeah.
Well, that's a gimme, innit? Did we even have to ask?
Well, I mean, you don't have Yorkshire puddings, and for me, that's a gimme.
Oh, really? Well, there's controversy, isn't there, on the Robin Pod already? I thought the controversy would be when we talk about Hull versus Rovers, let alone Yorkshire puddings or pigs in blankets.
You know where your main talking point is tonight now, don't you?
Oh, dear.
Right, let's go back to vegetables. Are you having broccoli?
Yep.
Yeah.
Are you having sweet corn?
No.
No.
Not even for the kids?
Kids aren't invited.
Are you having peas?
Yeah.
Mushy?
Yeah, but I could do without them. I don't think you need them.
Without.
I think they're away. I don't think they add anything to a nice Christmas dinner. They're in the same league as sprouts for me. They're only there because you expect them, but they're not as nice as your nice parsnips are out. So I could do without them.
I'm the same boat. I could do without.
Yeah. And you probably, because it's Christmas, you get the little... Because it's Christmas, you get the little 𝗕𝘂𝗴𝗏𝗏 ones rather than the marrow fat that you normally get.
Why do I forget they exist?
Red cabbage.
Red cabbage.
Yeah.
I wouldn't make it, but I wouldn't say no if someone put it on my plate.
Same as Jimmy, I think.
And is everyone agreeing on cauliflower cheese?
Yeah.
Yeah, we do it, but I'm
Indulge
not a
on it,
fan.
isn't it?
So
You're not a fan?
nah, it's not really for me. So we do it for everyone, but I won't partake.
So we've already said about
Sometimes I
Yorkshire,
think-
and then you're having gravy. Any other sauces?
Cranberry.
Cranberry,
Yes.
Yeah.
bread, bread sauce.
No.
No.
Not for me.
Can't say
No.
no.
Not for me.
I think we're having bread sauce for the first time this year. I think my brother's girlfriend's requested it, and it's the first time she's having dinner with us.
Requested it.
They're all coming around. So, well, I've told her she can bring it if she wants it. I do think it might be a feature on the table.
Out of everything, she's requested bread sauce.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, that's not a lot to ask for, is it?
Not really, no.
No, but do you know what? If someone said, "Oh, we just make sure you got some red wine in or white wine," you go, "Yeah, fair enough." But bread sauce is a bit left field, isn't it? It's like that's one that makes you start thinking. Like anything else, you'd be like, "Yeah, fair enough." But requesting bread sauce is a bit out there, isn't it?
Makes you question who we're invited to dinner.
What is it? I've never had it. I genuinely don't know what it is.
It's like
someone's taken it away.
It's like thingy, isn't it?
Thingy.
It's real milky. It's got like breadcrumbs in milk, basically.
I'm out.
So I think that's how it's made. That's the gist of it, if I'm right.
Yeah.
Josh will
Yeah,
let us know after Christmas Day.
Yeah, if that's all we have now on Christmas Day, we'll have to do another pod, and I can tell you what rubbish my day was. Bread sauce and Pringles.
So what I've come to the conclusion is I'm trying to pick the perfect Christmas dinner, and there actually isn't one, is there? Because everyone is looking so far out in what they want and what they need and how many people come round. Actually, you are literally just serving up a buffet of Sunday dinner and hoping that people enjoy it.
We forgot mash.
Well, that was another question, wasn't it? Roast potatoes, mashed potato, new potatoes.
Roasties and mash.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you all serving roasted and mash on the same plate? Or you let people cook themselves?
Nah, get them on your plate. Get them down, yeah.
Because that's another thing, Dean. What do you prefer? Do you like it being served on a plate to you, or do you like to have where you can help yourself?
On a plate, to me, to be fair, if I'm out, then if like was round at James's for Christmas dinner last year, and it was all put on a plate for us. We was given the option, what do we want and don't we want, but it was all brought out on a plate to us. So yeah, I liked that.
Like butler service.
Pretty much, but don't call his other half a butler. God.
No, it was mother-in-law, wasn't it? It was Lynn.
Oh yeah, it was.
Yeah, she was butler last year.
What about you, Craig? Are you plate it up or help yourselves?
I've always been a plate it up guy, right from being little. So yeah, plate it up, put it on the table, dig in.
There we go. So that's it. And let alone going on to puddings, Josh. I mean, what are you having?
You just put a variety out, don't you? You have a Christmas pudding as an option. You see if there's, I don't know, chocolate roll for somebody else. You make sure there's a few options. Make sure some custard's on the go. I don't know. I think that's just what you do. I'm usually too far gone for pudding. I've always, anything I eat, a restaurant, I'm a starter and a main guy, and that doesn't change on Christmas Day. I'm like, I want to smash it in the first half, and then if there's anything back at the end, I might nibble later on. So I think we've got a Christmas pudding of the stuff, but I'm not worrying about it.
Yeah, Jimmy. I mean, are you a pudding man?
Yeah, I'm a cheesecake guy.
Oh.
But I have to be loyal to my employer and eat as many mince pies as possible as well.
And Dean, I mean,
well, he only eats the cheesecake because I make the cheesecake. So yeah.
What flavour?
No, hold on. Can I call him out? Can I do a live call out on what Dean did last Christmas? And Rachel's in the other room, my partner, and she'll laugh at this.
Go get ring.
Dean, she won't get on here. She's no. Dean made a cheesecake for everyone last year, right? And if you take a cheesecake to someone's house or anything to someone's house, take a crate of beer, you don't finish it. What do? You leave it. Yeah. What did Dean do? What did you do?
Everyone was saying how nice it was, so I thought it'd be rude to not finish it off myself.
I'd have finished it off myself, wouldn't I?
So,
I thought that was disgraceful. Rachel was that annoyed about it. She actually brought it up randomly about 3 weeks ago.
Oh dear. It's better. Do you know what? That's one of our biggest. You know, when you invite people around to your house and like they bring a crate of lager or something like that, and you think, hang on, we've hosted, we put food on us, and they leave a few beers, and there's taxes here now. They take their own beers back with them.
I've never done that, but this was cheesecake. This is food.
It's the same thing.
No, it's not. Not in my book, anyway.
I hope you
the beer.
Yeah. Well, right. What we've anyway, condiments. What we having? You having any extra sauces? I know we talked about bread sauce, gravy. You can't have anything. Cranberry sauce. Anything else after that?
Just gravy.
Cranberry sauce.
No one's having that sauce, right? Are they?
Oh God.
No.
Maybe a sprinkle of salt for me, but.
Nah, well, I'll tell you what, mate. I'm no closer to speaking the perfect Christmas dinner after speaking to you guys than I was when we started. All I can come to the conclusion is that look, literally get as much as you can out there, and hopefully you hit the right spot for somebody.
Yep.
So you can do it. You're not going to please everyone,
especially not at Christmas. No way whatsoever. Anyway, right. Speaking of Christmas Day and Christmas dinner, can you believe they actually used to play rugby league games on Christmas Day? The last one in Hull was in 1968, and it was a derby. Rovers won 9-0 against Hull FC. It was Arthur Beetson's last game. He broke his leg. He only played 12 games for the Robins. I mean, guys, can you imagine going to a rugby league game on Christmas Day now?
I'm in.
Nah, not for me. It's for family.
I mean, the Americans do it, don't they? It's been a long-held tradition for them. For like, you know, you see the NFL, NBA playing Christmas Day. But Jimmy, I mean, do you fancy going out on Christmas Day watching a game? I mean, obviously times have changed a lot, and a lot of the reason before why they did these games is because obviously television wasn't so prevalent, and it was an opportunity to go out and entertain yourself, because obviously you didn't get as many days holidays, blah blah blah. But I don't know. Sacrosanct, isn't it? Christmas Day.
I'm in. I've done an NBA game on Christmas Day, and I really enjoyed it. It was just as much an event as every other day, but there was that extra sort of festive cheer to it. Do you know what I mean? Everyone was out, families were out together, and it added to it all. It was weird. Don't get me wrong, but I'd love to do a derby on Christmas Day, and I know it'd be a friendly because of the timing of the season. But I think it would be a good way to kick off sort of your pre-season friendlies, and I'd be in. I'd buy a ticket straight away.
Yeah, I mean, I looked into like some of the scheduling, what they played back in the 40s, the 50s, the 60s. They play Boxing Day, Christmas Day, then sometimes Boxing Day, and then they'd play another game midweek before New Year's Eve. Like, and we talk about rugby league, about players being protected, and let alone these blokes had jobs as well. Don't just play, rugby league. It's crazy what they had to go through. Yeah, not for me, Craig. I just think, let alone being a supporter, but a player having to go through that.
Yeah, no, 3 games in a week? No, not for me. I didn't like 1 game every week. So
I think 3 training sessions would be enough for me, let alone 3 games.
Yeah.
Still sounds like too much.
Yeah.
That being Dean has to leave the house.
Yeah.
Right, guys, we have got Chris Berry, who is a novelist, coming on. He's a big Rovers fan. He's just about to tell us about a new book he's released just in time for Christmas. Chris, welcome to the Robin Pod. You're joining us live. How are you, mate? You okay?
I'm great, thanks, fella. Yeah, you?
Yeah, great. I mean, it was a long, long time ago that he was on the Robin Pod, and of course, you've got to release another book. Tell us about the French Connection and where it fits in with all your novels and what it's about.
Okay, I don't know whether the rest of you guys that are on have ever seen these, but that was the first one I did. Chris Berry Tough Season. That was set in the sort of, set in the Pennines, because if you set it in Yorkshire or set in Lancashire, then you're going to ruin half your readership if it's rugby league people you're after, right? So second one was set in Lanzarote, and was Tough Season in the sun, right? Mainly because I go on holiday in Lanzarote, so I thought I'd set it there. And I thought, how bloody stupid would it be if the rugby league, in all their infinite wisdom, as you will well know as rugby league guys, decided that they were going to have a club somewhere like Lanzarote where nobody speaks the lingo at all or whatever, and they don't play rugby league either. So, but it would be something that you'd imagine the fat cats of rugby league, the ones that make some decisions like saying, "Oh, that's a good one for us all to have holiday." And then the third one is Tough World, and that was set around a World Cup that was based in Australia, and also a load of islands called Vanuatu that are, it's like a pointless answer in Pointless. You ever watch that? It's a load of islands, 80 odd islands in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, going towards Fiji. And then this one is the latest one. This came out this week, and it's called Tough Season: The French Connection. And basically, I don't know whether any of you read books, whether you're interested in books or not. That's the reason why I'm on. But the idea of it is, I have a guy called Greg Duggan, who's the main character, right? He's a bit of a character. He plays loose forward for this club that's not doing very well at the bottom of the rugby league. If you think of, someone like a Gateshead, or think of someone like, ideally, think of someone, I know they're not bottom of the league, but think of a club like Dewsbury or Huddersfield or Oldham or somebody like that, because that gives the right kind of feel to it. And he's got all the things are crime thrillers. If you've ever read, I don't know whether you know a writer called Dick Francis, but Dick Francis wrote a load of novels that used horse racing as a backdrop. And when I came up with writing, because I write for the Yorkshire Post as well, I used to write for Hull Daily Mail because I'm from Hull, and I'm from East Hull lad. I was born in Stone Ferry. I went to Mally Lambert School. I went to see Rovers in the previous halcyon days of the Rovers, of the sort of late 70s to the mid 80s, when we won everything, and when we were the best side in the league. Obviously, Widnes would dispute that a little bit at the time, and Wigan, obviously, as always, and Hull FC would at the time as well. But of course, we beat him at Wembley, which was all important to all of us as Rovers fans, anyway. I'm sure. So, so Greg Duggan is a bit of a character. He's I won't say he's your typical rugby league man, but he's a guy who is married. He's got a kiddie, but he's been playing away a bit as well. So and so there's a bit of stuff goes on in his life to do with that. And he's got a partner who's a more mature lady than him, who he's getting on really well with. And then everything starts going wrong with the rugby club. That's in the first one. And basically, he's a bit like, I don't know whether you lads have ever watched Die Hard movies. It's a bit like John McClane, Bruce Willis's character in the Die Hards. He's always in the wrong place at the wrong time and has to sort out what's going on and stuff like that. And so this latest one is set in the south of France. What's interesting with this one is it covers some of all my books cover some interesting things in rugby league as well that sort of hang a thread together. They're good for people who like reading crime thrillers, but they're also good for people who love rugby league. And I sell quite a lot. I sell about 1,000 to 1,500 copies of each crime thriller book. So I'm not exactly Lee Child, right? Okay, but when Lee Child came up with his first novels, I've heard him speak before, and he said, for the first 10 novels that I wrote, I might as well have been in one of my own crime witness protection programs for all that people knew me. And I've done 4 now. So I've got another 6 to go before I can say I can get anywhere, basically. But this one is set in the south of France, and it's set not in Perpignan, where Catalan play, not in Toulouse, but in Pau, which is southwest France. And I don't know whether you've ever seen or looked at French rugby league, because in rugby league you get some people who say, what are the French doing in rugby league? They're adding nothing to rugby league or whatever. Well, I know that a lot of Rovers fans think going to Perpignan, going to watch Catalans each year is a great little holiday for them, and like going there for a few days, which is great, and that's how it can work. But France has always been, since the 1930s, a real hotbed of rugby league, the south of France particularly. And there is a book called The Forbidden Game. It's written by a guy called Mike Rylance, and it looks into all of what went wrong with rugby league. Because rugby league got outlawed in the south of France by posh gits, basically, right? Who did not want rugby league to exist. And they wanted to make sure that it died as quickly as possible because, of course, it was affecting rugby union, and that was their problem with it. So I'm not saying I've used totally that, but somewhere in the book there's a twist in the whole thing that's in there that you'd like if you were into reading books, put it that way. And you'd also like the fact that, you know, or you might like, I'm not saying you would like, but you might like, you know, there's a bit of sexiness, raciness, a bit of raunch in it as well. There's certainly murders in it, and there's also games. Now, I based my telling of games through my books on like having a commentary, you know, like if you listen to Radio Blunderside, right, okay, or if you listen to TV Sky Sports or whatever. I based it on commentaries like that that I use to sort of tell the tale of what the game is. So it's got excitement to it. And Greg is a good player, right? But there are things that keep happening to him in games, and they're quite sensational. There are things you'd find if you're a rugby league player that you'd find funny in the books as well, and the things you'd find that you'd think, oh, that's bloody unrealistic. But anyway, it's a book, for God's sake. You know, it's like, you know, you're trying to do crime thrillers. It's something that's got a bit of humour to them, my books as well, but also got a lot of action in them, either on the field, you know what I'm going to say, in the bed, or somewhere else or whatever. And there are nasty things happen. There are good things happen. There are wonderful things happen. And that's the idea of the stories, you know. So I don't know whether you want to ask any questions, right? You know, but I'm a big Rovers fan. I don't get to the games as much as I would like to. Watch every single game on Sky, and I'm a big NRL fan, and I think the NRL is still. It's not. Funny thing, NRL is streets ahead of us, you would say, overall in rugby league. When it comes down to the top sides, I think we've got teams that could compete in the NRL now. I think Rovers would compete in the NRL now. They'd be in there with Wigan and Warrington. I've missed out St Helens because I still think St Helens are on a bit of a slide at the moment, and I can still see St Helens sliding further next season unless they do something about it. I can see the Rhinos coming back a bit because they seem to be getting their act together, but until we start the season, you won't know for definite whether they are or not. So I still think it's going to be my top 3 prediction for what it's worth for next season. I came on, Chris, earlier on this season. I said when it was this last season, I said 3rd and hopefully 2nd, because I still felt at the time that Saints were still going to just about do it. But then I think Wellens is just not a good enough coach. Don't really rate him. Don't think he's got the right kind of background. Don't think he's got the right well, he's got the right background. I don't think he's got the right people behind him, giving him probably the right advice of getting the right players in, which is what 𝗬𝗂𝗱𝗏 does have, and which is what Wigan do have as well, and it's what Warrington now have as well, the proper way. So that's why I still think it's going to be between those. I'd like to think that our experiences have been at Wembley season before, and also then the grand final this year. I like to think that we've now had those experiences of losing in both of them, but we didn't. But we did ourselves justice pretty much this time. Although I think we need a bit more. We need a bit more. I think that's what Willie's gone for, a really harder side this season. I think we will be physically harder in the pack this season, which is what we need to be. And if you remember, the really good times is when you've got a big, hard, physical pack that's mobile, that has halfbacks that can work it behind it. And the way I'm talking like this is the way I talk in the book. So
well, Chris, I tell you what, the book, it looks absolutely fantastic. Lots of twists and turns. Just remind people where we can get it. I'm sure people will be looking for stocking fillers and buying presents. Yeah. Where can people get the book?
Well, if you guys that are on here and other guys that are on as well, listening or watching or whatever as well afterwards, you can get, if you want it before Christmas and you're listening to this now in the next few days, the best bet is to see me on Facebook and I'll get it straight in the post to you, right? Like if any of you guys wanted a copy tonight, get back to me, get on to me on Facebook. It's just Chris Berry. You can see this picture on the thing, on everything at the moment that I've put up on it. It's the paperback is $9.99 as a cover price, but it cost me a bit more than this to send it. I'm doing it as $12.99 overall for the postage as well. So if you want a copy of it, do it that way. It is available on Amazon as well. So you might be able to get your copy on Amazon straight away, but I'll also do it as a signed copy if that makes any difference to you.
Excellent, so, Chris. No, that's brilliant. I'm sure you'll be inundated. So thank you so much, Chris. Good luck with all the book, and hopefully they'll be flying out and you'll be in the #1 bestsellers very soon.
And I got to tell you, Chris, as well, your other guy who writes the 𝗪𝗂𝗏 books, the Rovers books, he's just got his new book out. Have you had him on as well?
Not yet.
You need to be getting him because I mean it's a great thing to have a book of Rovers season each season. And I think he skipped a season last season, but he's done 3 of them now. And I've just ordered mine as well. So I'm always a great believer in supporting other people as well. All right.
Excellent. Take care, Chris. Thank you.
Cheers, Chris.
Well, there you go. Yes, make sure you go buy the book. Yeah, hopefully it don't go as long as what Chris is. Anyway, right. Live reaction to the fact that as we record this, BBC Sports Personality of the Year is on, and Jimmy, Wigan have been named Team of the Year. Well deserved.
Oh.
Yeah. And
I think so.
My response was a bit slow then because I'm quite shocked. But I'm not shocked because I don't deserve it. I'm shocked just because it's rugby league getting some credit.
Yeah.
I think it's really well deserved.
Yeah, I think, Craig, when you look at it, I mean, what Matty Peake's done with that club, and not just Matty Peake, Chris Wadlinski, the whole setup is such a machine, isn't it? The fact that I don't think they've recruited anyone this year for next season. You know,
They need to, do they?
No, they put such trust in their own process, their own way of doing things that they don't have to buy players and sign players. I just think, you know, they're an absolute machine, and yeah, I think it's well deserved, Craig.
Yeah, absolutely. I've said for a few seasons now, well, many seasons past, it's just a conveyor belt at Wigan. You know, you think, oh, Bevan French is injured. In comes Eckersley or, you know, one of their other youngsters, and look at Nsembe and players like that. They just seem to be rolling and just constantly all the time. They don't need to sign these big players. They're more signed players just to fill gaps more than anything. But yeah, absolutely deserved. I mean, 4 trophies, it's unprecedented, isn't it? I don't think, I don't remember, correct me if I'm wrong, but any other team doing that in rugby league, all 4 of them in one go. And not only that, but to, you know, win the grand final back-to-back as well. I think that's massive.
Yeah, huge. Anyway, right, let's talk about the derby, the rivalry. Of course, you guys, you talk about it week in, week out on the Cross City podcast, and you do it very well because what you do is you have the banter, you have the opinions, but you don't cross the line, you just enjoy it. And I think that is exactly what the derby, the rivalry in our city is about. I think on social media sometimes, Josh, it goes a bit crazy, and then I have to remind myself social media is not real life. It's a microcosm of people behind fake profiles and eggs and, you know, putting opinions, and sometimes it does get a bit too much. But you know, I look to where I work, and our office is red and white, black and white. We spend an hour talking shit at each other, and then do you know what? We go about our job, have a laugh, and that's it. And then the next day we do exactly the same thing. That is what it is. Although I will say, I've got the nickname at work now, Abu Hamza, because they think I'm a hate preacher or a preacher of hate about Hull FC, which is not necessarily true, especially if people who are used to listening to the Robin Pod, they'll know that I don't spout hate, and I think at work they think I'm on Holderness Road on a parapet, just trying to you know, like almost conducting a sermon. Anyone? Do you remember Abu Hamza? The Huff and the eye patch.
What a bizarre reference.
Exactly. This is why it's not the kindest one, is it? It's not the kindest one. So
it's not. I do think you're right, though. I don't think it's gone too far. I think that we do it great on the pod when we're all talking. We love to have the banter and we love to talk about the games, but we never take it too far. You do see a few people on social media, and I always laugh because these 3 all share the account that we have on Twitter for bragging rights. Right. I don't have a login. I'm not interested. I don't care what keyboard warriors are putting on. It means nothing to me. So I just let them get on with it. For what we do on the pod, I think it's what you see in work, like you've just said, or with your mates. You can have that banter, you can wind each other up, and you know, sports go in big cycles, don't they? We've had the upper hand this last year or two and been able to laugh at the black and whites, and you just sit there up and it doesn't turn back on us too soon when they can start ragging us again. So yeah, I haven't gone too far. It's good fun for me.
What do you reckon, Jimmy?
It's not something I miss when you talk about, you know, the banter and stuff at work. Like my office, my team, they're all based in Southampton, so it's all Southampton Portsmouth football for me, and I really do. I can really enjoy going to work on a Monday after a derby day again. So I don't miss the whole work banter thing, but yeah, to echo what Josh said, you see some stuff on Twitter, and it's almost extreme what people are writing, and the level of what feels like genuine hate. For me, I don't hate Rovers. I have a dislike for Rovers. I'm an old fan. You know, I'll say I hate Rovers, you know, we all hate Rovers and all that sort of stuff, but it's not a true hatred. For me, it's a dislike. I'm an old fan, as it is, and at the end of the day, it's sport. It's not, you know, it's not anything more than that for me. In the, you know, in the real world, it's just sport.
Yeah.
Some people
I think the problem with social media is you see people sort of deliberately going out their way to try and upset people, but there's not. It's not the best forum for a sensible conversation, because as soon as you put a sensible response, chomp, bite, fishing rod, it's like,
yeah,
you know, it's crazy. I don't get it. I just don't get it.
Or that one sensible one gets. Sorry, the one sensible one gets then covered up by 10 hatred ones, so it gets lost in a sea of other comments.
Yeah, I just see a lot of stuff, and you see people calling it out all the time. And would you say it to someone's face? Because if you won, why are you spouting it? You know, just enjoy sport for what it is. It's an outlet.
Yeah, definitely. And Craig, I do think though that's what makes, when we talk about, I mean, it's I'm bringing it up, and it's one conversation that absolutely I detest, which is the biggest derby in Super League and the biggest rivalry, all that. But what I would genuinely say is the whole FC Hull KR rivalry is the only one that is lived by people's almost 365. It is every day. It's constant. You're not telling me Wigan and St Helens supporters are literally day in, day out interacting with each other, bantering each other. I know they've got the argument of they're playing for silverware and it means more, and of course it does. And I'm desperate for us to be playing at the top table, both sides, and actually playing games that are meaningful, not just bragging rights in terms of 2 points or just getting one over each other, actually playing the big games. But our rivalry is unique because it is lived and breathed every day, which is hence why your podcast started off in the first place.
Yeah, absolutely. Like my family, my mum, my dad, my 2 sisters, they're all FC fans. So yeah, I live it every day because I speak to them every day. I speak with Jimmy and Dean 2 or 3 times a week. I work with people who are all fans. So yeah, it's constantly there, and it's every day. Either the words Hull FC or Hull KR, if not both, will come up in a conversation. And yeah, I mean, my dynamic with my family is you don't take the piss out of us, we won't take the piss out of you, kind of thing. And it's always good natured on Derby Day and things like that. So yeah, it's just great, and it's like nothing else, I think.
Yeah, I don't think people can relate to it until you're in it. It's a real weird thing. Like, unless you're part of it and you're in it, you don't understand what it is. Which is why it's so unique and it's great, and that's why I'm really glad that you guys started the podcast that you did, because you've put a real adult spin on. You won't think it's adult sometimes when you hear the banter that you guys are, but it's an adult way of doing it. It's actually dealing with a topic which obviously does divide a lot of people, but actually you're bringing it down to a level where it is just talked about as what it should be. Like, it should be in most workplaces, and the toxicity that you see sometimes on X and some of these Facebook, forums, I mean, they're well in their own, aren't they? Conspiracy theories, everything, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, but no, well done for you guys for doing that. Anyway, let's talk about some rugby league news at the moment. Craig, Josh, I'll come to you. I mean, Mikey Lewis, he's took the number 6 shirt. Obviously, it was retired by after the death of Roger.
You wouldn't believe what's happened.
Who was that?
Yeah, I know there's like a random voiceover.
You won't believe what's happened.
It's almost perfect timing, really.
What was you asking me about the number 6 shirt? Is that what was on?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like a voice box there or something. Like
See who's behind me. Look, I'm glad to see it. Yeah, I'm glad to see it come back. I don't think the number should have been retired. I'm not a big fan of retiring numbers. I think in a lot of sports they do it and it doesn't make a lot of sense. I think even less in rugby league. Rugby league's numbers have always meant your position for a lot of people. You can stand out even when we didn't used to have names on back of shirts. You'd look for that number that would represent your hero that you was watching from the stands or on TV. And there are nicer ways and other good ways to honour people, even when they are legends of the club. And we have the trophy and the game with Cass every year, and we have all the stuff that goes around that. And I think that's one way of looking at it. And I much prefer seeing that as a positive, that the number's back in sort of rotation. But I also quite like the idea of when the number gets given to that next star. It's not always going to happen. You see some teams try and pass a 6 or a 7 shirt onto someone that doesn't quite make it. We found a superstar in our team. We've got the Man of Steel this year. And if there's anyone deserving of wearing that again, I think it is Mikey. So I just think right time to do it. Glad we've got it back as a number that people can wear. And they've also, the club's handled it really well in the way they've announced it and put it back into rotation, so to speak. So yeah, no complaints from me. I think it's great.
Dean, as you're a semi-outsider looking in, do you think it puts a bit more pressure on Mikey Lewis next year? Because ultimately, every time he puts that shirt on, especially in the early rounds of Super League, he's going to be mentioned in the same breath of Roger Millward, because if he has a man of the match performance or he does blah, 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 he's going to be linked to Roger Millward. Does that put pressure on him? Or do you think
I don't think Mikey will think like that. I think looking at him from the outside in, he looked like something like that would bother him. It'd be talk from the press and us doing things like this. We'll talk about it and we'll talk about maybe being pressure, but no, I don't think Mikey. I think Mikey is just the type of guy who'll just brush it off and just get on with his game as best as he possibly can. But I do agree with Josh. It is definitely the right thing to do. I think we all thought that was the only way to go, when a hero passes on and retire that number. But I think what Leeds did with the Burrows thing, with the 7 shirt and having his name on it, I think teams have now realised, well, there's another way to do this and we can keep our big numbers still available for our stars. So these kids coming through now have still got the opportunity to wear the 6 shirt, the 1 shirt at different clubs, 13 and all this and that. So I think it's a great thing, and I think we owe a lot of credit to Leeds for doing what they've done, because, like I say, I think it's opened the way for the rest of the teams now to do it.
Yeah, Craig, can you understand though why some Rover supporters, probably of an older age, might be against it?
Yeah, absolutely. You look at, especially through the 80s, and then when he went into coaching and things like that, but he was there. Sir Alex Ferguson, if you will, he was probably what got a lot of older people into supporting 𝗀𝗂𝗧 as it goes. But yeah, for me, I'm one of these. We've had this discussion on the pod. I'm not fussed that it was retired. Obviously, yeah, I get the whole coming through wanting to wear number 6 and this, that, and the other. But just to paraphrase Tony Adams, a quote that he said, play for what it says on the front, not what it says on the back. So for me, that sort of sums it up. Like I said, I would be happy to play, if I was a 6 at Rovers, I'd be happy to wear the number 20 shirt for the length of my stay. But I can also understand why it's been brought back and the positives around that. But like Dean said, I think there's better ways to go about it than maybe retiring a number. So.
Yeah, Jimmy, I've got 2 questions for you. First one is Connor Wynn. He's been linked with the Robins for 2026. Obviously, he's been at Featherstone. He's been doing all right at Featherstone. I wouldn't say he's necessarily been the Championship's best player, but he's been linked with the Robins for 2026. Do you think that's a good move?
For him, yeah. No, I think Connor Wynn's he's got talent. He has got talent. And I think in the right environment, and without wanting to give Rovers too much credit, I think you can offer him that positive environment. I think he would become a better player, surrounded by like I said, a better environment, a good coach. You know, you put him in a Wigan team, he'll play well. He'll do a good job. Put him in a Rovers team, play well, do a good job. You put him in the FC team from last year, he'll be straight back down to Featherstone again. Do you know what I mean? Like you perform based on the players that you're performing with. So I think he has got enough about him to be a good squad player. You know, he's not going to be rocking up in a 3 or a 4, put it that way. But he'll do a job for you if you've got injuries.
Yeah, and Jimmy, what have you made of Hull's pre-season so far? You know, I think there was was it the first Super League team back in pre-season training? Yeah,
we were pretty much back as soon as we could be. I mentioned it a few times on the pod last year. Super League contracts run from the 1st of November, and our players, I think the 1st of November this year was a Friday. We came back on the 4th, so it was the first Monday after. I don't know how long we had off in total, but you know, between the end of the from the grand final to when we started, I think it was only a fortnight, wasn't it? Fortnight. But I'm glad to see that the players needed that. You know, after last season, they no one except the players that, you know, and their international call-ups, and I think the main one there was Asiata, and he didn't even play for us last year. You know, all the players that were here from last year, they needed to get back as soon as they could. And 1, because they didn't earn a long break, and 2, because I think you needed to wipe the slate as soon as possible. You know, try and forget about last year by starting this year, if you know what I mean. You know, just think, right, last year's done, this year's here, off we go. So yeah, and to embed the style that, you know, Cartwright wants to play, to embed the
Cartwright, did you say?
Yeah,
my mate Carty, yeah.
Oh, Carty.
Yeah, my mate Carty. You know, he needs as much time as possible to change not just the on-field, but the off-field as well. And getting him in early is probably the best thing to do.
Yeah, I tell you what, Jimmy. You know, I can't. I'll make no bones. I can't stand LFC. But what I've noticed is, and what I think is a really good thing for you is, Andy Last, John Cartwright, they've got a presence.
Yeah.
Physically, the look like, if you see them and as coaches, and they look like people you're going to listen to. They're not mucking about with you. And I think what probably went wrong last season is that it was a bit too easy. Like, even Simon Griggs he looks like a bit of a nice bloke, but not necessarily the guy who's going to be, you know, laying down the law. And I think what you'll find is with Griggs is that he'll become a great coach under Cartwright and Last, and I think you've got much more physical presence. And I think that's ultimately where Myler's tried to get you to. He wants you to have a presence as a team, and not if you get beat, you don't get beat easy. You know, we earn it, and I think, you know, don't get me wrong, I don't think that's necessarily the best way to go, but I can understand where they've gone with it.
Yeah, there was one clip from early pre-season that we put on our Instagram story, and it was Lasty, and it was, you know, it was only 10-15 seconds long, but that 10-15 seconds listening to him, it got me pumped. You know what I mean? I'm like, whoa, Jesus, I'd listen to this guy all day. But the thing that he was talking about, it was a black and white wall. It was like, whenever someone runs at you as a team, they're running at a black and white wall and they ain't getting through. And, you know, if that's the type of thing you're drilling into your team from day one with that level of enthusiasm and, to be honest, a bit of charisma as well, you know, to get their attention, you're building it from day one. It's going to be better. Just by looking at that video and a few since, it's got to be better. I mean, it can't get any worse, but, you know, I think a lot of it's coming from Lasty, like you said.
Well, I think it's got to be better than that video they put up. I think, was it when it was warming up against London and they were showing about and I think they had the tackle tags in.
we was at that game and we called them up on it, watching the warm up live at the ground.
Really?
Then me and James spoke about it, and then we saw it after the game. We saw, I think it was just what is it, TikTok, Snapchat, something like that, and we was like, yeah, weird that it's been pulled up there, and we've just watched it live. But that said everything about our team last year.
Yeah. Well, look, 2025, it's all in front of us. Dean, I'll start with you then. So, what are your hopes? What are your expectations?
Expectations, what I want, different things. I think we've got to be realistic. An 8th, 9th position. Do I want that? No. Do I expect that? Yeah. Do I think it'd be a step in the right direction? Yeah. I would take an 8th, 9th finish. I'd love to see us push for the playoffs. We ain't there yet. We've got a lot of building to do, and everything that's coming out of the club at the minute. Yeah, you're only going to see good things in pre-season, but I'm feeling a lot more comfortable with where we're at now than I was a month ago and a month ago before that. So, but yeah, 8th now finish, step in the right direction, and then you just got to slowly build on that.
Yeah, Craig, $1 million question. What you hoping for? What you expecting in 2025?
Well, in terms of progress for us, I think we need to win a trophy. I don't think it'll be. I wouldn't class it as a disappointment or a failure, should I say, if we didn't. I think it'd be disappointing, but I don't think it'd be a failure. So, but yeah, for me, I think we need to be winning one of the pieces of silverware that's available as a progress step. Which, you know, we've been making finals, so the next step is to win a trophy. So,
Jimmy, same questions.
I've got to completely agree with Dean. You know, for me, it's improving. Slow and steady wins the race for me. You know, you can quite easily, especially now with the takeover, you could quite easily turn around and say, "Oh, we'll get Marquee this and Marquee that, and we'll have a real good year," and then you end up doing a backward step after that because you can't maintain it for whatever reason. I think slow and steady. We need to build Hull FC into follow the Wigan model. You know, we need to build it from the ground up, and that means putting money into your kids, putting money into your reserves, whilst also trying to slowly build the first team squad into being a more competitive team. Because what I want to see here is you've got 𝗬𝗂𝗀𝗃 coming in at centre as an example. You've got Caesar coming in at 7 again as another example. They're older. What I want to see at the end of it is an old lad come up from the academy or from the reserves and follow in their footsteps as, you know, a first teamer and carry that on and hopefully, I don't know, 5-10 years we can be there as a team full of old players and performing well. You know, I'm not going to say no to having a team with a couple of marquees and a fair few Aussies and Tongans and all that and winning stuff, but I'd rather it be all-born lads. You know, you get more pride, you get more passion, you get a better feel for it as a fan as well when you see, you know, in the past players like Danny Houghton and Jamie Shaw picking up trophies at Wembley. It's better to see.
Yeah, and make sure as well, Dean, that you bookmark that because he said he completely agrees with you. So it's
standard on our podcast, to be honest, Johno.
It's standard on our podcast because I don't put any effort into prepping for our podcast. So I just say I agree with Dean and then I get away with it. And
Josh, you've got the final one. I mean, what's realistically, you know, Craig wants silverware. Is that the benchmark now for the Robins in 2025?
Look, silverware is the target, and we can say it's realistic in some terms because it's just within our grasp. However, I think if we're being a bit more realistic, we had a great year this year by avoiding a lot of injuries. Our conditioning was great. We've signed really well for next year as well, so we've got that chance. But if top 4 will do, you know, to show that we're still in that top 4 teams and we're still building, because a couple of results in how tight the league can change things. I still think we should be pushing top 2 in silverware, but I'd be happy with top 4. And then, look, I won't be disappointed if we reach another final or 2. Obviously, I'll be gutted if we lose them, but it's the fact that we keep building and going. So I'm just trying to be a bit more sensible about it. I really want us to win something, but yeah, as long as we're getting to finals and we're in them top couple of teams, I'll be happy.
Yeah, and Craig, just remind everybody who's listening to Robin Pod tonight, and of course, listening on the gone blank. Just remind me, something's just literally gone across my eyes, and it's literally just thrown my mind.
We have that problem on a weekly basis. Usually me waving my phone around, distracting Jimmy. So
well, I thought there was a phone ban, especially after Carty brought in. I thought he was going to introduce it.
We're getting a cage. We're going to put a cage on the middle of the table, and we're all going to put our phones in a cage,
like the old 𝗕𝗂𝗋𝗚 cage.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, Craig, it was your idea. I'll give you credit.
Thank you.
Anyway, Craig, remind people where they can find your podcast.
Yeah, good question, Jimmy.
Oh God! You can find us everywhere. We're on Apple, Amazon, Spotify. We got a Patreon page for anyone that wants to subscribe to that because we're poor. What else we got? Where else are we? There's another one as well. 𝗕𝘂𝗱𝗏, that's the one. If anyone's heard of that. But yeah, we're anywhere you can get a podcast, you can listen to Bragging Rights.
If you just go to the, I was just going to say, if you go to the Facebook pages or the X pages at Bragging Hull, I think it is it, Jimmy?
That's right.
And then there's a link tree on there, so you can just click it and then click on your preferred platform. So
yeah. Well, at least someone knows what they're doing, Craig. So thank you for bringing Jimmy on tonight, so he could.
Jono.
Yeah.
What are your expectations for this season?
Oh God! If you ask me on the coach home from the grand final, I'm sick of getting beat in big games. So at the moment, I'm a bit more measured, but I do think as a supporter, our expectations have been built up to believe that this club, this team is about winning things, and that's what they're striving towards. And when you put that feeling amongst the supporter base, you then expect it to happen sometime. But obviously, sport's not as
straightforward as that.
Sport, does it? But no, the natural expectation is that when you go to a final and you lose, and you go to another final and you lose, eventually you're going to win. That doesn't even happen in sport. Look at Warrington and their grand finals and where they are and what's happened to them. Yeah, I just need them to win something soon for my own sanity, because it's just.
No, we don't.
I don't know. Yeah, I just need them to win. Just win something. Just win a trophy. Just win a trophy, and yeah.
I'll tell you what, lads, it's a great feeling.
It is, especially when you do it 2 years on the bounce. It's even better.
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, all I'll say is I have been to Wembley and watched Rovers lift a trophy, so it's you're not the only ones. So, albeit a plate more than a trophy.
A plate, yeah.
Anyway, right, I'm stopping it now before this goes down a rabbit hole. We've just been saying about how good it is to talk about the rivalry and how nice it is and respectful. I ain't going down this rabbit hole of viciousness. I noticed it was Jimmy and Dean who sort of turned it as well. So,
well, we've got to do something, haven't we? We had probably the most depressing season any set of supporters have ever had since the start of Super League last year. So, we've got to be cheeky somewhere, haven't we? Got to find out.
I mean, it's probably not as depressing as having to merge with another club to regain your Super League status, but.
I can't believe Huddersfield did that.
And on that note, we wish you all a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.